Hi, I'm Jim Raffle. Welcome to this week's episode of the Jim and Shelby Show, the All Things Print Podcast. We're joined by Dave and Gabby from the Print Design Summit, and I'm going to let Shelby take it from here.
I'm Shelby Sapusik, of course, and we are here with Dave Hopkins and Gabby, do you want Gabby, right? Instead of Gabriella?
I know.
Is that
I always go between it of like, I love my full name, Gabriella, but Gabby suits me. So go ahead, Gabby. Gabby
Gabby?
Gadiza works. Yeah.
Right. We're from the Print Design Summit, and both of you are in Vancouver. Is that correct?
Yep, we say Vancouver because it's like the nearest city around us that anybody would know.
Fair.
But we're about 40 minutes outside the downtown Vancouver.
Okay. So full disclosure, I was one of the presenters at the very first Print Design Summit this past February.
Yeah, you were.
And it was a virtual event, and I wanted to talk to Dave and Gabby today, or we did, just to how this came about, how you guys met, what is the Print Design Summit? Tell us how you started first.
Cool. Do you want me to start with that one, Gabby?
Yeah, you go. I mean, you were kind of
If
the
you want to
main
give a little bit of
go.
background about yourself,
Yeah.
if you guys want to introduce yourselves, give a little bit of background, that's great too.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll start and then I'll kick it over to Gabby here. My name is Dave. As Shelby mentioned, I've been in the print industry for nearly 20 years now. Started knowing absolutely nothing and worked my way backwards through the print process from the bindery stuff, then ran presses for a while, did pre-press for a while, then somehow landed in account management. And then that's sort of where I've been the last probably 8 or 9 years of that career. So the biggest passion that I've always had and where I found this sweet spot in print is helping designers create these printed objects, bringing these printed things to life. That's just the part that I enjoyed the most. So with my most recent print job, not job, but print employment, I had about an hour and 10-minute commute each way to the shop. So during that time, listened to a lot of podcasts. I've always been entrepreneurial minded and thought, these parts of the job that I love the most, how can I scale these and help more designers create print? So that's what sort of led to Print Design Academy, where we teach graphic designers to be experts in print and packaging, the Print Design podcast that we have, and ultimately our core purpose is to help more designers create print and packaging through free content, showing them how to do things, to deep dive advanced paid content. And the summit and the podcast were just some of those things that are free for designers to access, to just learn this world of print and packaging, learn what's possible. So that's kind of a brief intro to me and where we're at. And me and Gabby had known each other for years. I actually went in and talked a little bit about print and paper when she was a student in design school. So I went and spoke to her class about print and paper. And then we had some mutual friends. And then ultimately the last 6 or 7 years, I was working with her at her job, which was doing design for a local real estate company. And we would print their magazine that they produced annually. So we had this sort of like vendor-client relationship. And one day I was going out to all my clients, handing out the Christmas gifts, and I had received an email from my previous partner in Print Design Academy. I think it was like 1 or 2 days prior to this trip. And I popped into Gabby's office to drop off this, Christmas gift from the company, and had, in the back of my mind, like, what am I going to do? We're just about to go film this craft beer label design course. We've already booked studio time. But now I don't have somebody to teach the design side of this thing. So what am I going to do? So I'm figuring that out. Big smile on my face. Hey, here's this Christmas gift. Happy holidays. Gabby goes, hey, good to see you. If you know anybody who's looking to hire a designer, I really want to just grow my design skills, and I want to, get more into the design community and sort of out of this real estate world. And it was sort of like, interesting you said that.
I
And
know.
so,
Yeah, that was so funny. And
there we
well, it
are.
was even more specifically, I was definitely wanting to have it's print. Like I wanted to come and work at the print shop that basically you were kind of working at,
Yes.
right? So just definitely was feeling my the need to kind of be more hands-on and work outside of the in-house position where you're kind of, it can be kind of tedious back and forth. And it was a small team, so I was doing a lot of admin stuff. And so being able to kind of Yeah, so funny that timing because we had kind of been talking about looking for something else ourselves, just casually a little bit here and there, and then
Mm.
really sealed that deal on yeah, joining Print Design Academy, which has been such a fun ride and definitely gives us a lot more of that opportunity to kind of create ourselves and be able to work with other people in the industry, like such as
Mhm.
yourselves, yeah, Jim and Shelby, and really create this big community for print and sharing knowledge, right? So yeah, so I guess a little bit about me. Like Dave said, I've been working a lot of my print work was for real estate company. So a lot of like postcards and direct mail stuff, and then the magazine was my baby. Like that was
Mm.
me top to bottom, design to the interviews to all of the things. So it was a great learning project as well, right? To kind of work closely with Dave and learn all the ins and outs of that. But yeah, so I've been designing for like I guess 10 years ish. I mean, I've always been doing design, even as a kid, kind of randomly Christmas stuff and things. So it just felt natural to me. But yeah, so joined Print Design Academy. I guess we're a year and a half.
More than that, it's like
You
two and a
for
half.
you, yeah, okay. I mean,
No,
you've been
even for
at it for
you.
longer, yeah. Gosh, time flies. But yeah, it's just we're all just getting started, and it's been an amazing journey so far. So much love from the community. Print Design Summit was, I think, a huge like show of all of that as well, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so super excited to kind of get into it and share kind of that story with you and the listeners of this podcast.
So, what I was impressed with, and I watched this from afar because when it was going on, I had other things going on, but Shelby was keeping me up to date. And so I knew it was happening, and I knew the day she presented and all of that. And I'd actually seen that video when she put it together for you. So I knew what was going on. And I was impressed with the number of people that you had signed up. And then I was really impressed with the
You and
global
me
reach.
both.
Yeah, and what really impressed me was the global reach, and the way I know you had global reach. Um, I was wrapping up consulting out east a couple weeks ago, and I just walked back into my hotel room. It's like 5:30. I'm exhausted. The last thing I want to do is answer the phone, and it rings, and I can tell it's someone calling on the company line forwarding, and I answer, and there's like a delay and a lag, and it's some guy calling from Australia. So somebody who had watched the event from Australia was impressed with Shelby's, and this is a little self-serving, but he was impressed with her presentation in particular, and wanted to find out more about us and training options and things like that. And
That's amazing.
right, and so
Crikey.
and that's amazing for us. But what I'm more impressed with, honestly, and where the question goes is, how did you achieve that reach? What's your secret?
Well, it's kind of funny because we didn't even realize the reach
Yeah.
until we decided together to do this sort of wrap up post and this sort of wrap, almost like a sort of
Spotify
like
wrapped. Yeah. I love it.
impact report,
Yeah.
Spotify wrapped kind of thing, like just to summarize
Mhm.
the impact of the summit, or the reach of the summit. And basically Gabby sent me the draft, and I looked at it and just said something like 78 countries reached. I was saying,
Yeah.
Gabby, what is it? Is this like fake type you're
I
putting in
know.
here, whatever? Like, she's, no, literally 78 countries reached for registration. I went, holy, like, we didn't even realize it in the moment. But when your primary promotion is LinkedIn, is Instagram, even your own internal email lists, when you have the speakers all from all over the world also sharing about the event, your reach just compounds.
Totally. Yeah. It was kind of, and that was one of the things. It was, it's scary doing this first event, and we weren't sure. And if you know anything about us, or you'll learn, but the dynamic between Dave and I is Dave is yes, and I'm hang on a minute, let's think about it. But usually it goes towards where Dave's like correct anyway. But yeah, so it was such a cool thing just to see people talking about it and having the excitement of everybody else who had already registered, being able to also share. Like I think that a lot of our success, I guess, in it. I mean, Instagram and LinkedIn, like there's only so much of it you can kind of control, and you don't really know from there. But I really have to say that the people's excitement. And we've had messages saying like, oh, I'm going to share this in, someone was there, their Chicago design group. And so there's a lot of natural sharing and networking that was happening kind of behind the scenes too. So yeah, so I think that really solidified just like the need and interest in it. But there's no real magic formula for us because we're still, you know, it's social media is a beast and it's still just like is so confusing. But just kept going at it. Dave did you know, some lives. We just worked through just trying to get kind of posts out there regularly. The LinkedIn thing I think was a huge eye opener, which Dave, you already knew that, but yeah, it was really cool just to kind of see actually quite a lot of people came in from that LinkedIn avenue as well.
That's how Dave found me and asked me if I'd like to be a part of it. Was LinkedIn.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, LinkedIn was something just out of respect. I kind of have said, you know, at the beginning or end of January, I left my day job to go full time with this Print Design Academy, knowing that February would be dedicated full time to the Print Design Summit, both preparing, testing, planning, and executing that event. But you know, 2 years prior to that or longer, I had not been posting anything on LinkedIn about the stuff that we were working on, just out of respect for my employer, you know, thinking that I don't want to be out there promoting something I'm doing on the side, you know, when this has my attention, print sales. So yeah, it wasn't until the end of January where I could, like, for the first time, really be public on LinkedIn about what we were working on and what we were building. And you know, from the first post and, you know, starting to the connections just started rolling in, of people who wanted to be involved with what we were working on, from either speakers to you know, sponsors and partners to work with, you know, all of these different avenues. And I knew that LinkedIn was just this untapped arena, just from my years of sales experience on the platform.
Yeah, and you've put a lot of work in over the years, even for having it tied up in, you know, not tied up, but obviously connected with your previous employer. But just you're a connected person between having the podcast and all of that stuff too, right? Like I think that really diving in and embracing the people out there, right? Everyone's in your industry. I think people kind of forget that sometimes you can just ask someone a question, say, hey, are you interested in being on a podcast? Or like, oh, let's connect, right? So yeah, not shying away from that, and just the years of work that you've done separately to even Print Design Academy, Dave, for your print knowledge. It's really created this great platform, right?
Unintended benefit.
Right? Yeah, like it all just came together. So it was pretty cool to see for sure.
One of the things I was really interested in, being a part of the Print Design Summit, the user interface. I don't know how you guys put that together. I don't know who you used, but, and I don't know, Jim, if you saw it, but there was, first of all, when the presentations were going on with the recordings, they encouraged the presenters to be online at that time when it was first coming on. And then the chat roll would be right there. And during mine, I was busy the whole time typing. People were really interactive. So I love that the attendees were that attentive and, you know, asking questions as it was going on. And I wasn't there for every single presentation, but I chimed in on some other ones, and I found that to be true of all of them. So it wasn't just mine. And then you could go back and look at the recordings. And then there was a lobby where you could go in and just have general conversations with people like, hey, did you catch da-da-da? Oh, I really like so-and-so's this. Hey, my Amazon book is here's the link. You know, I mean, there was just a plethora over those 3-4 days of information and education. It was great. So
yeah, it was overwhelming.
it kind of was in a good way. But if I can ask, how did you come up with the framework? Because virtual events are tough. And I know over the last few years, people have been going towards virtual events, but getting people to sign up is one thing. Getting them to attend, chime in, be attentive, be interactive is a totally different animal. And I really want to give you guys credit for the user interface, because I think that made it very easy for people to do those things.
Well, thanks, Shelby. Yeah.
That's great to hear. And that, you know, I loved seeing, you know, all the other speakers, yourself obviously included, engaging with other speakers during that live chat portion. So some of the tech stuff, I'll kick over to Gabby in just a second here, because, you know, she was kind of the orchestrator of building all of that in the background. But in terms of like the overall concept of, online community, having a live chat during the pre-recorded presentations, so people can still connect with the speakers, keeping people engaged and informed. I can't say that that was all our idea. I was about 2 years ago, I was a part of a summit online called the Simply Profitable Designer Summit. And some of the ideas that we put in place for the Print Design Summit really stemmed from my experience as a speaker in that event. So it was put on by a lady named Krista. I forget her last name, but if you just Google Simply Profitable Designer Summit, you'll see some of the stuff that she's done. So in terms of like the function of a summit and keeping people engaged, emailing them every day with here's the schedule, each of those emails being linked directly to the speaker page, with times and reminders and all that kind of stuff. The ideas of those processes came from that. Now it was kind of on Gabby to sort of say, okay, these are the functions that we wanted to have. What is the best platform? What's the best software? What's the best tools to use to create this experience? So I just wanted to state that up front.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, and Dave's someone who's always researching or looking at something and kind of has a knack at gleaming all that information, right? But yeah, so that was such a great concept because the live chat thing was something that we got a lot of praise for, just feedback from, and I loved that whole process as well, having it kind of having the speakers be engaged and chatting in there and everyone else's involvement. But so we have to definitely thank the experience of Dave over there for kind of looking into that and learning a little bit from Krista's things. And then for me, because I did see the summit on the back end from that, and for me personally, I was like, okay, how do we make we can make the video bigger, and let's figure out this chat thing, kind of roaming in there and having it start up a little bit before. So so we use a platform called, just to kind of go in the nitty gritty, I guess, is we use Kajabi, which is kind of a course / event based platform for our website. And then from then on, and the design and functionality and all of that stuff was just kind of trial and error. Like we built our site map, and even when we get into it, I am someone who kind of is a process builder anyway, naturally. So going into it, kind of like thinking it out, and then realizing that we had to pivot as well, because some stuff, it's like, shoot, is this going to be visible when that person comes? What happens when the video is here? We want the video to reveal at a certain time. So there was a lot of random little things that kind of had to somehow jimmy rig around the scene, but it was honestly shocking that it went as smooth as it did.
Give yourself some credit there, Gabby.
It really did.
It was, you never know. And we had an email hiccup with our emails not working. So it's like, it wasn't perfectly smooth, but it was really great. And then for the community part, Circle. So that's another, again, platform that we use that's been really great for us for customizing our community. And just having that engagement. And again, people, it was really, I think, the excitement for the summit as well. Like, we did our best, and true to our nature as people, of like fun loving and personable and loving to have that connection, wanting to create this fun environment and having posts planned, but the people themselves, like, just keeners, like, creating posts themselves and really wanting to learn, and super grateful to just the speakers for what they were teaching. So it was a group effort in a way, but we had done some research and worked through some stuff ourselves to get there.
Yeah, I mean, during this building process of behind the scenes, I think for 12 weeks straight prior to the summit, I went live on Instagram every Friday, talked about, here's the speakers that have signed on this week, here's the sponsors that have signed on this week, here's what we've been working on in the background this week, here's what we've learned, here's where we failed, here's something that we found that works awesome. Just really live documenting the building of this summit. And there was a point in there where we were 100% certain, okay, we have to buy this $500 platform, to run this event in the way that we think is best. And we almost, we were I feel like moments away from doing that. And we went, well, let's just hang on a second here. Is that the right way to go? And then, looking at it a couple of different ways, like, oh, actually, hang on. And then talking to, the Kajabi platform's helpline, like their live chat. Oh, okay, we can do it this way and this way and this way. So it was a lot of trial and error, building it and designing it in a trial on this platform. Nope, can't even use that. So all that design work we put in, scrap that, moving on. So it was definitely some trial and error to get it right. And, props to Gabby for having the patience to work through that process and get things right. And everything you saw visually, from colors lining up to designs and everything feeling familiar, from the emails you get to the artwork we promote with, to the event and speaker pages, to the community, all of the brand alignment of look and feel of those, like, that's all Gabby, like, monitoring all that stuff. So it was definitely like a back and forth figuring things out, though, on the tech side.
So if we can change gears for just a quick second, in order to prepare for this a little more, I took a look at your LinkedIn page, Dave, and you've mentioned that several times. And so I scrolled down a little bit earlier, and I was just kind of clicking back through it. You shared something, I guess it's 3 weeks ago now, 4 reasons why print is here to stay. And you shared it as Print Design Academy, and then you did a reshare. Yeah. But, this is one of those things that obviously Shelby and I come across all the time, because we make our living in the world of sort of traditional print. In other words, colorants on a substrate. Let's make it really simple, right?
Yeah, exactly. Ink on paper.
Versus pixels on a screen, right?
Yeah.
So, for me, sometimes that's putting colorant on guitar tops, right? And so, but that's print. That's not pixels on a screen. And so, what's your feeling about that? I mean, I clicked through the slides there, but maybe share with people the continued utility of print versus other media.
Yeah, so back, just to sort of give you a little bit of an experience history for me, like I mentioned, I've been in print for nearly 20 years now, 9 years with an old employer, and then 9 years with my most recent employer, to 18 and change. And with my first job, where I really cut my teeth into printing, we were doing a lot of NCR forms, big run catalogs where all of the products are on all of the pages of this thing. Companies doing individual brochures for every single one of their products with their own spec sheets and all these sort of things. And since that moment, looking at the evolution of print, having been in the industry, you're not seeing a lot of companies doing giant catalogs with all of their products anymore. They've got these beautiful lookbooks with nicer paper, nicer things, and they're not printing as many of them, because they're really targeting who these are going to. And they refer you to an online catalog where, the item numbers there, the prices are there, and all of those things can change in a moment. Whereas if it's printed, you're 3 months away from your price change. So that's one thing, is that just seeing the utility of print become something that people are thinking about a lot more than just like, print a bunch of those forms, print a bunch of those, print a bunch of catalogs. People are thinking about what they're printing now, a lot more than they used to. So that's kind of one point and thing that I've seen firsthand. On the other side as well, on the packaging front, COVID was a terrific example of that. All of a sudden you had e-commerce and grocery retail products, consumer packaged goods, like skyrocket, selling out everywhere. You couldn't keep the shelves full. But you back up that chain a little bit before that product arrives on the shelf. It's got a sleeve, it's got a label, it's got a box of some kind. If it's e-commerce, it's a box, the product that goes in a box and then goes in a shipping box. So there's all of those print design and packaging pieces that go in to getting a product to the retail environment, whether that's e-commerce or sitting on a shelf somewhere. And you've seen that segment, the packaging segment, the label segment, flexo print, roll media print, all just continually chunk straight upwards.
Yeah, it's definitely been and that's why that concept of print is here to stay kind of thing as well. And Dave has spoken a little bit about it too. The I think the fatigue for screens, right? And we did have a lot of that issue, obviously, with kind of this COVID time. I think really put into perspective for people about just like going back to those basics and that kind of tactile need and that interaction and the connectivity that you get with print and people and all of that stuff in general. So yeah, so it's been, I think you said it, best too, is like people are really kind of being conscious about print. And it opens that up to being really innovative and kind of, yeah, very intentional, because we are trying to be more eco-friendly with a lot of stuff, and you don't want to just be printing a million things that are going to have to change in 3 months, like a catalog. So it does open up this customized ability, this bespoke thing of like really having fun, intentional pieces. And all the design trends, I mean, I kind of showed Dave that anyway, but actually a lot of the design trends now are grain and texture, and digitally they're trying to make things look like print and screen print and all of that stuff. So there's a lot of like this throwback, I guess, if you will, kind of to like the 90s and early like the 2000s and whatever and stuff, where there was so much more packaging and all of that. So it definitely is going to come back, or it's still here, but there's a different kind of way and a consistency that print will always be there. It's just going to look different as we go, right?
And I noticed something just this year that is different than the last couple of years. I travel a lot, and so it was that time of year when the travel partners, Delta Airlines, United Airlines, Marriott, they all start to send out their status packages, right? And they're more substantial this year than they were the last 2 years in during COVID. And I was like, yeah, this is good. I mean, because obviously someone had to put those together, right? So I love that. There's, it wasn't just a simple little card with your luggage tags, pasted to it. There was actually some additional collateral in there. It was printed on high quality paper. One of them actually, I threw them away, unfortunately, but one of them was clearly, at least in my opinion, either high definition. In other words, they multiple colors. They had additional extended gamut. Sorry, wow, can think of it. They had some extended gamut inks there, or they were running high density something. Because I opened it, I was like, "Whoa, this is not your normal printing," and that it made me pause. It's like, okay, this is good. There's this resurgence of the specialty printing, because that's the thing that sets us apart. The tactile pieces, the color that you can't necessarily get on your monitor, or if you do, you're just used to it. And this is like, you open that piece of direct mail and it's like, ooh, this is different. There's something different about this one.
Yeah.
So.
And to that point of this post is really like why we do what we do, obviously, of this print is here to stay, it's not going away kind of thing. And it constantly fuels why we feel the need to keep expanding that, and why the summit comes about, right? To like the print design summit, for us, a lot of it is to get more people interested in print, to obviously the people who are in print learn about what's happening in print. So I think it's a huge accumulation of this idea that print is here to stay, right? And
it's just huge awareness. Like
it's huge.
It's an event where we had, I don't know if you were going to talk about numbers a little bit later, Shelby, but I mean, I had this sort of personal goal in my head that I kind of kept a bit of a secret, where I was like, I want 1,000 people to register. Like, that would blow my mind. That was the stretch goal. And, we cleared that for sure.
Yeah.
So you get all of these people with their eyeballs on print and are reminded that print is a thing. Print is something designers need to engage with. They need to know how to do, because it's not dead. It's not going away. Yes, you're not printing 5,000 3-part carbon forms anymore. That's an iPad app. But what you are doing is printing these beautiful brochures and booklets that are going to your target audience, that are getting them to interact with your e-commerce brand or something like that. But even, I'm sorry I didn't get a little bit more prepared, but there's a quote that I saw recently. I think it was from either Canada Post or USPS, talking about, Gen Z, sort of this like younger demographic generation, and their appreciation for print and tactile experiences is way higher than it was with millennials and generations before that. So it's you've gone through this, people who were raised in this digital world where they're handed a smartphone at age 10 and, they're brought up in that digital world, having a massive appreciation for something that they can hold in their hand and it feels cool. Maybe it smells cool. And there's different ways to interact with people like that.
So as we kind of get ready to wrap up, we can talk a little more. I just want to share something. I'm going to try this. If it doesn't work, we have a good editor. So are you guys seeing your stats wrap up? You made me think that maybe we should share this. So you had 4 days, 13 speakers. Shelby was one of 13, right?
Yeah, an awesome speaker, by the way.
There's your proof that you cleared the 1,000, right?
Yeah, 1,277.
Yeah.
So can you distinguish for like someone like me who doesn't know the difference? You have almost 1,300 registrants and 535 who joined the community. What's the difference there?
I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because that was one of the, in the category of lessons learned from the first summit. This is one of them. There's a feature out there in the online world called single sign-on. So if you're using a couple of different platforms to put on an event, you use single sign-on, so they register and sign in once. They're automatically added to the community. There's no extra actions involved on their part. They're automatically added to whatever else that is going on for the event. We weren't able to get that going for this event. So what you see there in that drop off, if you had 1,277 people register and sign up for the event, put their hand up and say, yes, I want to watch these presentations. I want to be a part of this event. They then received an email where there was an additional step where they had to click the link and then go create a second account to go join the community. So anytime you're doing an online free event where people haven't paid, they don't have skin in the game, you get drop off from if there's additional actions. If it was single sign on, those numbers would be exactly the same. And we probably would have seen even more activity in the community. But if you get somebody who registers on their lunch break, receives the email and mentally goes, okay, well, I'll sign up for the community with that link later, and then never does.
Still very cool.
And that's true. Like if you want to break it down, like that's true of any business thing, right? Like, and so I think for us in terms of getting numbers, like you have your numbers and then you have the second batch of that. And then like, okay, now how many bought the thing? And it just like, it always goes down in that. So, but yeah, to have that number in the community in general, is, blew our mind because we weren't expecting how much engagement was in the community regardless. So yeah.
And here's your proof of your 78 countries.
Yeah.
There it is.
Wild.
Thank God we got Bernay in there.
You gave a bunch of stuff away. I was aware of that. I think we were part of that. I'd love to know what the playlist is, but we'll do that at a different time.
Just go to Spotify and search Print Design Summit. You'll find it.
Really?
Yeah, the Print Design Summit. Print Design Summit playlist.
There we go.
On the next slide, it tells you. Yeah.
That was part of the community.
Oh, there it is. Oh, it tells us right there. Search Print Design Summit on Spotify. Okay.
Yeah.
And
that was a prize post engagement idea that we did. And so that was super fun. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I remember seeing that. I thought we could share it. So
well, I think we've established that it was a success, Print Design Summit. What is next for you guys? Is Print Design Summit going to be an annual thing? Is it going to continue to just be virtual? Have you considered something on site? What do you think?
Yeah, so virtual for sure. It'll be annually virtual for sure. Gabby and I have talked and people have asked about, doing an event in person. And yes, that's a dream. That would be amazing to do. But it also opens up a whole other list of problems. And one of the biggest glaring problems is if you're putting on an in-person event, Gabby and I couldn't do that, just her and me. Like we would need additional staff. We would need help with that kind of thing. And so right now our focus is on our sort of two big events that we put on each year, one being the summit and the other one being a graphic design challenge, where we use a fun challenge with a really cool creative brief to teach designers part of print design.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing.
For sure. And also, we are growing. We are new a little bit in a sense, right? Like we've got that stuff. So there's always going to be that time that we need to really have all these ideas, like a physical summit be, formalized. But yeah, we really wanted to just make sure that we're taking care of the people who are part of us for Print Design Academy. Because, that is our first kind of our home of teaching and creating the
Yeah.
courses. And so, yeah, going through that, but definitely doing the summit annually, virtual for now until, maybe maybe one day we'll put it on my mood board or
Maybe
whatever.
we'll take it on a tour. We'll do the UK
Yeah.
tour. We'll do a North
Yeah.
American tour.
But yeah, because print, like in person, you want that experience. I mean, we did add that physical with our toolkits that we were able to get all that stuff out. But yeah, so I mean, Dave's note list, there's many things for us in the future. You should.
I haven't even revealed the whole thing to Gabby.
No. He's scared to show me.
I gotta ease her into the list.
Sounds familiar. Well, we want to thank you guys for being here, and thank you for including us. Where can people find you guys online, Print Design Summit, and yourselves personally?
Yeah, so you can go to printdesignacademy.com, and that is our core website. That's where you can find links to the free stuff that we put out, like the podcast, Print Design Podcast, our YouTube channel where we're teaching print design as well, all again for free. There's also some free resources through that website, like our print ready files checklist. And then you can also see the courses that we have available where we go deeper with the clients, with customers and designers wanting to learn print. They get more access to Gabby and I directly for questions and answering things like that. And then you can also go to printdesignsummit.com. And when you land there, it'll just kind of be like a landing page for a wait list with access to the recordings from last year through the lifetime access pass. I think it's like $37 or something like that. And then you can watch and have for life all the previous presentations from the last summit.
Yeah, so printdesignacademy.com, at printdesign_academy on Instagram, Print Design Academy on YouTube, and Print Design Podcast on Spotify, and yeah, printdesignsummit.com. So we're everywhere.
I'm trying to be.
Yeah.
I'm totally going to find that. I'm totally going to find that playlist when we're done. So
yeah, headed on Spotify. Yeah, I guess Print Design Academy or Print Design Summit on Spotify. Yeah.
So just a reminder, knowing when we're going to drop this episode, for our listeners who are going to be at the ISA show in Las Vegas, this is a pre-production beta. This one's not going to be a long bottle opener, but just to show you that we will have good swag along again. It will have better images on it, but
that was pretty cool.
We've been playing around with that. So we'll have the bottle openers, and I'm hopefully I think we have one more episode that will drop before, and we'll show you more of the swag that we're going to have along. So that's ISA April
12th through 14th.
13th, 14th. The 13th, correct. We are speaking. It's a ticketed session. So just a reminder again, if you want to be in the room, we sold it out last year. They had 50 or 55 seats last year. I don't know what we're going to have this year, but if you want to be there, you gotta book early. So. And
our session is Thursday, April 13th at 3 p.m. And the topic is why is brand colors important? Yeah. Why are brand colors important?
Yeah. Very important.
Very important.
I'm excited to
slide deck right now, actually. Well, not right now.
Yeah.
But...
Well, I know I speak for Shelby too. It was really fun having two fellow podcasters on the podcast. It makes our jobs actually a lot easier and a lot more fun, honestly. So we're really glad you were here, and I think that's all we got for this week.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having us, guys.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you so much for being a part of the summit as well, too. Until next year.
Big time.
Yeah.